Good morning and welcome to another podcast, the first one of 2026, first podcast of the Evans Leadership Insight Group Leadership Insight podcast. And today we have Aimee. Aimee has two businesses. She is performance sport kinesiology,
Sport horse kinesiology.
and Healthy Made Easy.
Yes.
Okay. And so we're just going to have a conversation about those, basically about your background, how you got to where you are today, and then what your vision and goal is moving forward. So
Sure.
take it away.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Both of these businesses actually came out of some severe health complications that I had from having my son in 2008. So this was not my plan for my life, but it was definitely God's plan. And so I have a condition called Chiari malformation, where the back of my brain is herniated into my neck. And when you have that, you can't have an epidural. I had an epidural when I had my son, and so ended up having to have brain surgery to correct the fallout from that. And it just created a whole host of issues in my body, neurological issues. And then at the same time, I had an infection and a lot of antibiotics I had to take, and that kind of threw me down the wrong path with my gut. So I had to learn a different way to survive and exist outside of Western medicine. There were really no answers there for me. It saved my life, but then it, kind of created more problems than what I started with.
I see that. Like my mom had a stroke in '96, and so Western medicine definitely saved her life. She was flown to Mayo Clinic and had brain surgery and did all these things. But then as time has gone on, she's been on like blood thinners for since then. She's got a genetic clotting factor, so if she's not on a blood thinner, she throws a blood clot like that. And so even with the screens and filters in her thighs to try to break them up, she still and so that has progressed to where, for no other reason that they can tell other than she's been on so much medication for such a long period of time, she now has such a severe osteoporosis. And so like she breaks the spinal processes just snap like twig. And at this point in time, they've told her, there's nothing they can do. They've done surgery, they've done the glue, they've done all the stuff, and there's like, you're just going to have to wear a back brace, and it's going to heal as much as it heals, and don't do things that break your back. So,
Right.
So she does that about every couple of years. She ends up with that. So, Western medicine saved her life, but now it's at the point where she's been getting chest pains and dizziness, and nobody can tell my dad why. And he's of that generation that doesn't want to ask. It's like, well, the doctor said she needs this, so
Right.
So that's what she's going to do. That's what we're going to do because they're the smart people, and they are. But they also, some of them aren't open to other modalities, and that's where you come in.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just not all the tools that there are to have in the toolbox. And I had to learn that firsthand and learn it the hard way and figure it out for myself. But I'm so glad that I did, and the path that God has me on now, to be able to help others and to be for them what I wish I would have had going through it. And so that's my why. That's my mission, is to fill that gap, to serve that purpose, and to create an awareness that there is another way, to give people hope that there's not, these diagnoses are not the end of the road. It's not something that you always have to accept. If I had accepted it, I wouldn't be here today. So I kept searching and looking for other answers. And, by the grace of God, he led me to, several different types of modalities that have really helped me. But with my nervous system, I couldn't take the pain medications from, when I was recovering from the brain surgery because of what happened with my gut. So I recovered from brain surgery twice on regular strength Tylenol. And it wasn't enough. So if you imagine the electrical system in your house, it would be almost like lightning hitting that and blowing the breaker. And then it doesn't really come back together on its own. And so I struggled for over a decade, because if your nervous system doesn't work, if the signals can't get from your brain to your body, nothing works right. So that was one problem. And then the other problem I had was, how would I heal my gut? Because I had leaky gut, I had small bowel bacterial overgrowth from all the, the overuse of the antibiotics, which were necessary at the time to save my life. But then, how do you clean up the mess? So I had to figure out how to use food as medicine. And I completely changed everything in my life from, what I ate to the skincare products that I use to what I clean my house with. And so my two businesses that I have today really stem from those two areas that I needed to fix and figure out in my own life. And they've been absolutely profound.
And I know people that that we know, friends that have with the equine therapy and people as well have seen big differences. So how did you? Let's talk about how you started in the kinesiology realm.
Yeah. So I went to a physician who practiced it, and he was 84. He'd been practicing for 50 years. He was one of the doctors that everybody goes to when you can't figure out what's wrong or how to fix it. He gets all the hopeless cases. And so I was one of those. And I remember the look on his face when I walked in was kind of like, I'm not really sure how you're still alive, but we'll see what we can do. It was one of those. And he shared with me later that I was one of the most difficult cases he had in his entire, 50 years of practicing. But he was a chiropractor, but he used this applied kinesiology technique, which is a focus on the nervous system and just kind of, rewiring those connections between the brain and the body and getting everything to work again. So when he started doing that, it was the first time in a decade that I actually felt a spark of life come back to me. Like, this was going to work. This was actually healing. And it was different. And while I believe in all the different alternative modalities, and there's a place for everything, this for me replaced all the others that I had been trying to do because it creates natural healing. It allows the body's natural healing to take place. And so I didn't need to run to all the other modalities anymore because I had this. So they used muscle testing as a form of biofeedback and finding neurological weaknesses or disconnects in the body. So we would, go through and test 42 different muscles in the body and find out where it's weak. When a muscle holds up under pressure, if you push on it, that's a strong connection between the brain and the body. If you push, again, very lightly, it's about 2 pounds of pressure. If you push and it goes weak, that means there's a disconnect. So by isolating these different muscles, we can go through and find all the different weaknesses, and each one of the muscles is also connected to an organ. So it's not just a structural rewiring, it's actually helping those signals to, the brain, the liver, the lungs, the kidneys, the stomach, all of the different organs. So it's a total body tune-up and overhaul. And stress, my case was a little bit more severe, obviously, with the surgeries. And I did have other trauma in my life as well. But stress of any kind will start to shut down the nervous system and create those weaknesses. So it could be structural, it could be mental, emotional, or it could be biochemical, like nutrition, toxins, and even, EMF signals from phones. That's one of the things that I like to show people the most is to have them hold a phone and muscle test them with the phone or a smartwatch or earbuds, and the arm will go weak. They can't hold their arm up even though they're trying.
You guys, do you use any acupuncture or anything like that?
No, so this modality incorporates some of the acupuncture meridians and points, but I don't actually use needles or magnets or anything of that sort. So it's just light touch on the body, either on the spine, neurolymphatic points, neurovascular points, or then, clearing those acupuncture meridians. But there's no equipment. It's just me.
Awesome. Yeah. I know the military and the VA now is big, not big, but they've adopted acupuncture as a modality for pain control, uh, and so it's when you see a big organizations like that have always been very focused, driven by traditional medicine. When you see them start to like they do what's called battlefield acupuncture, and they're these little gold. They're about the size of a grain of rice, and they look like little
pellets,
and they put them around your ear.
Yep.
They do those. I've done that, and that's crazy with that.
That's phenomenal.
And then they also do like with like a TENS unit. So they'll do it with e-stim, and So it's coming along. You're way on the cutting edge, which is pretty cool to
Yes.
talk about.
Yeah, there are not a lot of practitioners that do this for people. It was developed for people. I just figured out that I could do it with horses. Um, but it needs to be out there because everybody should, be able to have that, have access to it. Um, I didn't intend to ever learn it for anything other than myself, but my sister, who has a horse farm, had a stroke several years ago, and she lost the use of her left arm. And knowing the horse industry is what I came from all my life, I knew that that wasn't really going to be a feasible thing for her, to be able to do. So I said, let me come out, let me, help you and work on you. And while I was here helping her, I said, I think I can do this on the horses. Let me try and play around with it and see what happens. And so I did, and some of her clients started to see what I was doing, and they loved the results I was getting, and they thought it was, fabulous. So they said, well, when can you work on my horse? And I had so much interest within a few days, I realized that this is something I really needed to double down on and just do. So I gave up a full-time faculty position as a college professor after just getting my doctorate degree to do this, and it's been the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, that's it's funny how God has a plan for us, and we don't. We think we know where we're going, and I'm sure that after your after your surgery and as you were recovering and you got a faculty position, you thought, man, this God, you healed me, and this is probably where I'm supposed. This is the direction I'm supposed to be going, and then
All of a sudden, nope.
no, not really.
Fork in the road. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had one of those last year, and I'm still trying to. I know I'm on took the right fork, but uh, we're still trying to figure out where that's kind of leading. But you got to just walk in faith.
That's exactly it. Is a faith walk.
And, that's cool. So you've been doing. You have the horse business. You've been doing that for
About 2.5 years. And I have had the privilege of working on, everything from horses to longhorn cattle to, you can use it for dogs and cats. And I've had the privilege to work on very high level athletes. I've worked on several Olympic athletes in the equine industry and several world champions. One of my clients just won the NCHA futurity.
Oh, nice.
And so that was really, really neat to see and be part of. And, it continues to grow. I've got clients that are all over the country at this point. And I do work on horses and riders, people. And I've got people that we can do virtual sessions as well. And I can guide people through it through FaceTime. If I've got somebody on the other end that can do the muscle testing. So it's nice because I'm not limited to, this location. And then, recently in the equine industry, we had an EHV outbreak, which has been pretty severe and scary. And so people were leery of having body workers come because it's very contagious among the horses. And so the nice thing about that is, I can do virtual sessions, for situations like that too, almost, COVID-like.
Yeah, that was like a horse COVID. I remember when that broke out, I was happened to just be in the vet. Really, within a day or two, I was picking up meds for the dog, and the equine vet at the place we go, he was somebody who's telling an owner, like when you don't, you need to buy like a separate set of everything for the horses that are infected. You keep them separate. You feed them. You do everything with them last when you come in. You go directly to your laundry room, strip, put everything in the washer, wash it on hot, dry it on hot. Don't don't leave.
Yep.
Don't wear the same clothes and go to the other horses after you touch them. So that was a big thing, and I'm sure that was right at NFR and the Fury, all that was.
Yeah, it happened at NCHA during that too.
That was all going on right at that time, and so that was a big deal, and so it's nice that you could, especially folks that were competing. I would imagine on a normal year you would be at the maturity, be down at the arena working on horses as they came out, before they compete or after they compete, however they need it, and That would be nice if you could do it virtually. And so I have a question about the virtual. Um, we were talking about how cell phones affect uh,
The nervous
the
system.
nervous system.
Mhm.
How so? Does doing it? Does that have any? Do you know that, or do you have to just understand? Is that an understanding that okay, there if there's a small weakness that you can attribute probably to the technology, or you just treat them all?
No, because what I do is I have them set the phone down, or if they have a tripod, it's on that. As long as they're not touching the equipment, it's okay. So as long as they don't have an earbud in or a watch on or holding the phone,
Okay.
then we can do it. So yeah, when I work on horses, if I'm filming anything, I can't even use one of the microphones, right? Because again, that would be a Wi-Fi
Right.
type connection, Bluetooth. But yeah, no, it works really well. I've gotten great results. I've got testimonials from people in Canada that I've only ever worked on them through FaceTime. Yep, it's been fantastic. But we get really good results. Some of the things people are probably curious, well, what does it do? Um, but it decreases pain and inflammation. It increases blood flow. It helps with increased flexibility, range of motion, strength, performance, recovery from performance, sleep. And then the other really cool thing that I can do is a trauma release. And so many of us have stuff, right? We've got stuff from when we were kids to, now everything that's going on in the world and things that we're, worried about for the future. And so being able to do a stress and trauma release for people and animals is a complete game changer. And I've even incorporated thermography imaging into my practice to be able to see some of the differences before and after and how it affects inflammation. And just doing a balance with the kinesiology is one part of it. But then sometimes when you add in that stress release on top of it, there's even a difference before and after from just that. So it's been fascinating
That is
to see.
Yeah, I think when it comes to health, um, a lot of what the long term effects of things aren't necessarily like we can heal pretty quick. Our body's amazing; it heals
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But we hold that stress, or if we're under stress, it slows the healing. And so being able to do a stress release uh, just would help. That's something that again, Western medicine doesn't look at. They don't look at you as a whole. Uh, they don't look at the whole patient. They look at
Pieces.
pieces.
Mm-hmm. And it all works together.
Which is funny. That I'm a veteran, and the way the VA does disability is once they've established a uh, disability, then if you start out 100% healthy, and for every so if you get 10% here, 10%, so then it's 90. So now you're 90% healthy, and that next 10% is 10% of 90. It's not 10% of 100. So they look at you piece by piece instead of going, uh, you know, if you have PTSD or chronic pain or whatever that may be, that doesn't just affect that small piece. That affects the whole. And when you add all that together, that affects the whole person, quality of life, not just we'll make his knee better or her knee better or this better, and they get that 10% back.
Sure.
It doesn't work, and so I think that's the way a lot of doctors look at it. Well, if I fix their knee, they'll be fine. That's all I'm worried about because that's where the pain is, and that may not be maybe a quality of life issue because of things that are going on. So I think you treating the whole person, the whole body, mind, spirit, all that is a big help. It does a lot for people.
Yeah, it does. Our thoughts produce a frequency, good and bad, high frequency and low frequency. And one of the muscle tests that I'll do for people to show them this and demonstrate that is I'll have them think of something really happy, and I'll test their arm, and their arm's always strong. And then I tell them, think of something sad or, something from your past, traumatic, whatever, and then their arm goes weak and they can't hold their arm up. So our thoughts produce good and bad frequencies that can, harm or heal. And so you have to be careful, be intentional how you're thinking too. Because it's similar to if you're watching a movie that was, maybe a scary movie or, something, happening that was a stressful situation, we will have a physiological response, right? You'll notice your heart rate increase, your palms might sweat, and so that, even though you're not in that situation, your mind seeing it is enough to produce a physiological response. But it works in the opposite way too. So if you're constantly thinking healing and I'm healthy and I'm whole and, all of those things, that's producing a healing physiological response in the body.
There's a commercial out right now. I think it's for Ford. But they said, it says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
You're right.
And I think that really ties into what you're saying here is if you think, there's another guy, he's a Navy SEAL, was injured very severely in Iraq, and he's Jason Redmond. He's famous for, he wrote this manifesto and posted on his door saying, if you're coming in here and going to be sorry for me, don't come in. And his thing is, you can be a victor or a victim, and there's only 2 letters difference, and it's your choice of which 2 letters go at the end of that. And so I think that's a great thing to remember, that when you're, I know this week I felt horrible, and I let myself feel horrible. Man, I don't feel good. I don't want to do anything. And just let that sink in instead of being like, you know what, I might not feel good, but let me get up and move around. And I kind of got to that point yesterday. I try to do something, and I did, and I feel much better today. So I think that's a great point, is your attitude, and having a strong faith relationship with God also, I think, is a big help.
100%.
Because it's not just today and tomorrow. There's something more permanent out there. So you want to maybe work a little bit harder. Helps you have those good thoughts more than bad. So that's a big impact on your health.
Yeah, absolutely. Staying grounded in the Word is important. Every day, the first thing I look at, on my phone is the YouVersion verse of the day. So at least I'm getting, the Word of God first thing. It does help set the tone.
I did that a lot this year. So, it's the beginning of the year. Everybody's wanting to get healthy and challenges. So this year, one of the challenges I'm trying to do is, at least for my Bible reading, is actually pick up the Bible and read it on paper.
Yep.
Because and I always love doing it. The YouVersion thing is a great tool, and it's easy because you can, again, we're so technology. We're just leashed to it. No matter if we want to be or not, we know all the bad stuff it can do with, just as you were talking about, the EMP from it. But it's where we are in life. And so it's great that you can get up and look at that. If you get up and look at that before you scroll Facebook or even the news or anything else,
yep,
at least you started your day with a positive thought before anything else gets a chance to hit you. Yep. But it's kind of neat to be intentional to, okay, I'm going to go sit down, I'm going to pull out the Bible, and I'm going to read. I'm doing, just for this month, I know our friend Rick Spence is big about, he reads through the Bible every year, and the way he started 15 some odd years ago is just start with Proverbs, because there's 31.
Yep.
So read a chapter every day. Do that. Trying to read a book, a couple pages in a real book, which I haven't done that forever. So it's been good. It's a good thing to do. It's a good way to start your day. I'm going to start the day reading God's Word and hearing what He has to say for me, and that does a lot for health too.
It does.
It does a lot. And
you can multitask your health. It's one of the things that I like to talk about, with people on my other side, my health coaching platform. You can sit and eat a healthy breakfast and read, right,
Mhm.
at the same time. And so you kind of get a couple things done, and you really do feel so much better
Or
starting your day that way.
if you're going to the gym, you can, read or you know, listen to
Listen to podcasts or audiobook. Yep.
podcast, or there's Bible plans that'll read the Bible to you can pick whoever voice you like to read the Bible to
Yep.
you, and while you're on the treadmill or while you're working out. So, um, and I would imagine that would in some ways counteract the bad side effects of using earbuds, because your mind is in a positive place. It would at least,
Yeah, it would definitely help. It would
uh,
definitely help. Yeah.
and I know what you're also saying. I guess we should say this is, some of those things that we're so having our cell phone with us all the time, or using a smartwatch or earbuds. They're not horrible. It's just you need to, like everything else, you need to limit and really, if you don't need your earbuds, then don't use your earbuds. Or if you don't need a smartwatch.
Well, there's other ways around it, so you can get wired, um, earbuds that are air tube earbuds that don't transmit the EMF signals from the phone. And you can get cases like I have. This one's made by Safe Sleeve, and it blocks the EMF signal. So if I had somebody hold this to their chest and I tested their arm would be completely strong. And then as soon as you open this and test, it goes weak. So there are things that you can do to help, protect yourself. And these are on my website. I've got a link to Safe Sleep on my Sport Horse Kinesiology page. At the very end, products I love. You can click on that link and go through and find earbuds and all kinds of different products that they offer to help, mitigate some of that risk.
And like I would imagine with the Safe Sleep, that's probably somewhat like a Faraday bag, Faraday case, where nobody can uh, access nobody can hack into your phone.
Signals can't get through.
It protects everybody uses their phone now for, you have your credit card or your banking information on there.
Yeah. And that's the other nice thing about this is I use it that way, and I keep my credit cards in here. That the scanners that people have, they can't breach this. So another way to protect yourself.
Right. So let's talk about the health coaching.
Yeah. So that was the other piece that, for me was a game changer. And I feel like I've actually aged in reverse. I feel better now. I'm going to be 49 this year, and I feel better than I did in my 20s. And I really attribute that to eating clean, cleaning my house with different products, being careful what I put on my skin. And so I took the best of everything that I learned over 15 years in holistic health and wellness, and I put it all in one place so people could access that and they could go through step by step. And it's the information and the products and the resources that I wish I had had, to make my life easier. Because the thing is, when you're going through a health crisis, or you just don't feel well, you don't have the extra energy or capacity maybe to go out and do all the legwork and figure out, what do I eat, and what do I buy at the store, and what do I do with it when I get at home, right? And there's so much to that you can change, and in your environment that you can change to get toxins out. It really makes a huge difference on the body. So I really wanted to put all of that together in one place so that people could kind of do it at their own pace and not be a diet, because diets never work, right? They're not sustainable. And people say to me, well, which one's right for me? And what I have found is this common thread that if you just go back to basics of how we are meant to survive and what God, kind of laid out for us, if we look at it that way, the body does what it's made to do, and it heals and it thrives and it's strong. And so, just cutting out processed foods and, and simple sugars and things like that. I clean my house with baking soda and vinegar, lemon juice, instead of all the toxins. It really does make a difference. And you can see that with the kinesiology work as well, because we'll do a lot of muscle testing for food, for supplements, for different things. And, you can see, again, a visual, physical representation of, your muscle will be strong, holding one thing, and it's weak holding another. So it's definitely powerful and impactful for the body.
I think the other thing is there's again, we live in a technology and information age, but there's so much stuff out there. And if you don't know, I mean, you don't know, you haven't gone through it like you had, and you didn't have a choice but to find it, or or God led you to it, however you want to look at that. Um, it's hard to find. There's so much stuff out there, and you get paralysis by analysis or over analysis because there's somebody says, well, you should be gluten free, or you should be carb free, or you should be this free, or only be a vegetarian, whatever it is, and it's like what's right for me, and you don't know, and you get stuck in that. Well, I don't want to pick the wrong thing. I don't want to spend this money. Because a lot of stuff is just changing. It is not. Well, it's more expensive to start. It's more expensive because you're purging your house of chemicals, or you're changing. You go through your pantry and go, oh man, look at all this processed food that we buy because it's easy, and it's made to be, because of the chemicals, it's made to be kind of somewhat addictive to us. So you know, um, so we buy it and we eat it, and it's hard to get rid of. And, so you're like, well, I don't want to get rid of all this stuff if whatever I'm going to try doesn't work. So you just kind of stay where you're at. There's that fear of what do I choose? What do I do?
It's overwhelming, for somebody to walk into Whole Foods and go,
oh yeah,
what do I do? That I've seen people do that.
What is whatever?
What's quinoa? Why is it good for me? Why should I eat it? How do I cook it? What's it going to taste like? So that's where I'm hoping that this program, can kind of come alongside people and guide them through making one change at a time, to where you just weave it into the fabric of your life and it becomes a lifestyle change versus a diet that doesn't work. And it's completely sustainable. It's easier than people think. Going out, if you just plan a little bit, and you can take a couple hours once a week and spend some time doing some batch cooking, you can set yourself up for the whole week. It's much more affordable, actually, than some of the processed meals, right. And it's certainly more affordable than going out to eat. You can come up with convenient ways to eat healthy, convenient food when you're traveling that's good for you. There's things, little snacks, that emergency food that I call it, that I carry in my car, so I don't end up going to Chick-fil-A or wherever. Not that Chick-fil-A is horrible, but you know what I mean? Yeah, it is just to make sure that you're eating as clean as possible.
And I think there's also some things about, in the coaching part, I don't know if you do, but I wouldn't be surprised you, that like you can help make the healthy choice of, do I go to Chick-fil-A versus Whataburger?
Right. If you have to, yeah, there's a healthier choice.
Or if for whatever reason you're with a group of people and you don't want to be the one that's like, oh, we can't eat there and we can't eat there. Mm-hmm. So if you do have to go to Whataburger, what's the best?
Yep.
What's the best worst choice you can make?
And so it's just guiding people through seeing nutrition and health through a different lens. And it empowers them to be able to make those choices and have that knowledge and not feel stuck and not feel overwhelmed or, unsure. There's so much misinformation that's out there surrounding health and wellness. For one, there's a lot of sources that are not necessarily credible. A lot of people, I see this all the time. It's like, oh, well, I heard this on TikTok or, whatever, versus seeking out someone who's got a master's degree in nutrition, like I have, or, a doctorate in health and performance, or a nutritionist, or, I think that some of the stuff that's out there is, on track, but some of it's not. So you have to be really careful where you're getting your information from, and then how you go about doing it is the other key piece, because a lot of people will have great intentions and they're super motivated and they'll start, but maybe they didn't have the right guidance, or maybe it wasn't sustainable for them. So again, doing it in a way that you do one thing at a time, and when you get that down and that's a habit and that's part of your life, then you do the next one. That is the biggest key to success.
Yeah, I think that, again, we're in the beginning of the year. Everybody has made whether people admit it or not, everybody starts the new year with some sort of resolution or some sort of intention of
Yep.
I'm going to change something about my life this year, or
Yep.
I'm going to do something better this year, or whatever it is. And they don't have the SMART goal. They just have it's really just a dream.
An idea.
It's
Yep.
just I'm going to do this, and they don't have a. That means I'm going to get up and every day, and go to the gym, or I'm going to on whatever day of the week, Saturday or Sunday or whatever works for me, I'm going to batch cook, or I'm going to at least meal prep so that as the week goes through the week, and I go to work, and uh, those things pop up because they're going to pop up. That could be obstacles that you have already done some things that are going to at least reduce some of that stress, and you already have. Well, I already have my meals planned out for the week, and
Yep.
I can whether they're cooked or just prepped. Okay, I can come home, and I might got home late, but it's already ready for me to throw in the oven, or it's already ready for me to reheat, or whatever that may be. And they don't do that. They don't have any kind of plan. They don't have any kind of timeline. They're just like, between now and next December, I'm going to change my life. And I mean, we've all done that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And that's, the very first thing that we do in that program is to talk about goals. Take a look at where you're at now. What do you need to change? And then we break it down into SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, timely. And so having that being the focus at the beginning sets people up for, okay, where do we need to go? So we have a roadmap. We start with that, and then we go through nutrition, we go through exercise, sleep, stress management, toxins, immune function. And I also share other resources that have helped me along the way, and also sharing other modalities for people to kind of look at and see, okay, where can I really, up my game in life with how I feel, how I perform.
yeah. Seminar in October, and one of the speakers was he's a performance guy. He was a former Navy SEAL, and he works with high performing athletes. And his thing is, you wouldn't go to war without a map. Why would you do any, whether it's your business year or your personal life? Why would you not have a map? Uh, you need to know. A map tells you where you are, and then you also have on that map. There's different ways of, there's if I'm going from here to Weatherford, there's 5 different ways I can go. There's multiple ways you can reach your objective, and being able to have a map and see that is important. So if you don't have a roadmap, if you don't have, again, it's not, you wouldn't drive from here to Disney without knowing what roads you're going to take. You wouldn't just get in the car and, well, I'm just going to start heading east, and eventually I'm going to get to Florida.
Yep.
You'd have it laid out. You'd have your waypoints, your rest, those kind of things laid out, and that should be how you approach your changes that you're trying to make in your life, or just living life in general. You should know. I'm sure that you can't sustain everything at 100% all the time. So it's where are your rest breaks? Where are you taking that time to recharge and refuel both physically and spiritually? That's one of the things that it's hard to sometimes get, especially high performers, to understand that it's not necessarily it is self-care, but you can't get them to understand that self-care is important because they got a mission. They got
push all the time.
So you gotta get them to understand that self-care isn't just self-care; it's really team care. Because if you're the CEO or you're a business owner, whatever that is, and you don't take care of yourself, eventually something's going to make you sleep.
Yep.
And so if you don't do that, it's not going to just impact you; it's going to impact your team. And you can usually get people that are those high performers. You can usually get them to understand. Oh, they don't care so much. Well, if it impacts me, it impacts me. push through it. But it's like, if you go down, then who's going to lead your team? Or if you're a business owner and you go down, who's going to sustain your business for your employees? So vision is important to really get some clarity on that. Vision attracts talent, and not necessarily work the opposite way. Talent doesn't necessarily attract a vision. So if you have a vision, you're a great example of that. You had a vision of, there's something better, there's a different way to do this. You started working on the horses, or you started with your kinesiology. You're like, okay, this is meant for people, but I bet you this would work on horses, and it did. And that brought you, you know, you're working with world champions now.
Yeah.
That where, um, a world champion didn't go, I wonder if there's somebody that can do this to my horse. Right. Or I wonder if there's something better for my, and so now you've had the vision to move into this business of health, health made easy, and or healthy made easy, uh, and so now you have this vision, and that will bring people to you, and that will bring, as you move forward. I'm sure your products and whether it's personal trainers that come along, or other people will start seeking you out to be a part of this program, and that's big. It's to have that vision, and then to have you can't just, again, it's not just having the vision, but having the plan of how to act out on it and roll out. That's really cool. And it's rare. A lot of people, see a problem and they just whine about it. They don't do anything. Then you have a group of people that see a problem, they complain about it, and they wait for somebody else to fix it. And then there's the vision, where there's a problem, and I might not have all the pieces. I might not be the foremost expert on every part of this, but I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do something. And then as you move forward, pieces fall into place, and you build a business. So I'm really excited to see where this. I think both of your businesses are going to continue to grow. Of course, you're here in Parker County as the performance horse capital of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking to a young lady the other day that, of course, trying to get into the horse business. She moved here from Michigan. And, she's over in like Sherman or someplace, and there's some over there. But I'm like, why don't you move there and not, Parker County, where every flavor of performance horse.
Yep. It's amazing here.
From roping to cutting horses to there's everything.
Yep.
It just continues to grow. So, I would not, like I said, I think you'll continue to do good things and grow, and I think that's, a path that God has you on. So, anything else you got for us this morning? Anything else you want?
Well, I just, want to kind of encourage people that, feeling good and being well, it doesn't have to be hard. I think, we've made it too difficult. We've made it way too complicated. And if we just go back to basics, and that was the thing that was on my heart, I saw, these common threads that, the suffering, the chronic disease, and the pain that everybody's in, it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm living proof of, that there is another way, and it does work. And it's not painful. It's not, it's great. So I would just encourage people, to keep that mindset that there is another way, and it's accessible, and it does work for everybody.
It does. I think that a lot of things we see, health-wise, has been, we've really created by going towards process, progress, taking us towards processed foods that, our grandparents didn't eat, or our great grandparents, for certain. I can remember it used to baffle the doctors. My grandfather ate horribly if you think, but he ate, real butter and real, I mean, he was, but nothing was, most things weren't processed. They had a garden. I can remember as a kid, we'd either freeze or my grandmother would can vegetables, and they had a root cellar, and farmers markets were a hipster thing. If he didn't grow it and they wanted to put whatever up, they would go to buy it. I remember we were like the only kids in the neighborhood. I wish I would have paid better attention because, it's summertime and all your buddies are fishing or playing baseball or doing something other than sitting on grandma's front porch snapping beans because she's going to put up 16 bushels for the winter.
Yeah.
I never paid attention to that, but they ate. They didn't. He bought a half a beef about this time every year, and he had a big old '76 Dodge Diplomat. He'd wrap that thing up and throw it in the trunk, drive it home, and they'd cut and wrap it. And we'd make our own hamburger, and we did those things, and we just have lost.
Yes.
We've lost those skills, a lot of it. I mean, there's people, I know that, like, we have friends that bake, and they're trying to do their own sourdough, and they're trying to do those kind of things with no preservatives and eat healthier. But, it's just those kind of things. If you are going to eat bread, it's not that hard to make your own.
Right.
And it's so much better because there's
no chemicals in it.
There's less chemicals in it, I would say, because if you're buying flour, unless you're milling your own flour, you probably don't know there may be some pesticides or other things, but there's less, and that's a huge thing. Just, you don't necessarily have to cut everything out if you can just get less of it.
And that's one of my favorite things to do with people is to show them how to have the foods that they love in a way that's healthy for their body. You don't have to give up good things, right? Like, I still eat pizza and pasta, and I'm Italian, so those are non-negotiable for me. But I have ingredients and sources to do it in a way that's really good for me. So that's possible. And the other thing I want to say just really quick is, the easiest way to look at it is if it didn't have a mother or grow out of the ground, don't eat it. So if I only had a couple seconds with anybody, that's what I would tell them. If you run everything through that grid, you'll be so much better off.
And it's, like Stacy has really come to enjoy baking and making bread. We have other friends that have really, and neither of them were ever, her or her friend Linda were never really bakers. And they're like, that's something they just have come to really enjoy. And it's not as hard as you think. And so being able to, make your own pasta isn't that hard. It's harder than going to the pantry and getting a can of SpaghettiOs, or going down to Olive Garden. It's not that hard.
There's products that you can buy too, that you don't have to make your own pasta. So I eat a brown rice pasta. That's fantastic, and it's a complex carbohydrate, so it's not turning into sugar immediately. As soon as I eat it, it's a different experience in the body. So those are the things that I love to show people, is those easy hacks where they still get to have the food they love in an easy way, and it's healthy.
That's very cool. I think that's one thing that why diets don't work, for the most part, is it is you're withholding something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even if it's successful, sometimes you get to a point of, well, why am I giving? You feel like I've given up so much, and why? And so if you can still have pizza when you want it,
Mm-hmm.
or pasta, or desserts, or whatever that thing is that,
Yep.
you feel like you're depriving yourself of, it's easier to stay on that. If you can do it in a healthy way, it's easier to.
There's so much good food that God has given us to eat on this earth, and we don't have to be deprived. I eat 5 to 6 times a day. I never feel deprived. I don't go hungry. Um, it's just, if you make your calories count, you don't have to count your calories. So just being intentional about what you put in your body, nutrient dense foods and clean eating, it makes a huge difference.
Appreciate your time, and
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you being here, and we're gonna put them in the description and show notes when we put the episodes up. But if you want to run through any way to contact you, or you want to give them your website, socials, any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Sport Horse Kinesiology is www.sporthorsekinesiology.com. And the Healthy Made Easy is healthymade and the letters easy.com. And it's Sport Horse Kinesiology on all social media platforms. Healthy Made Easy on Facebook and Instagram. And it's healthy.made.easy, letters easy, on TikTok. And I do share, tips and tricks and little health hacks along the way on those platforms as well. And I'm here locally in Parker County, Texas, but I do offer, again, virtual sessions all over the world for the kinesiology, and I am happy to do custom case-by-case basis. People want more than just buying my program for the Healthy Made Easy, the lifestyle transformation program. I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, will you do one-on-one coaching with me? And so I am happy to do that, so case by case.
So the program, let's talk about that. I think we didn't talk about, we talked about what it is, but how, we talked about the components of it, but not actually the program together. Let's talk about how you do that. Just give yourself a little commercial here of, if I want to do the Healthy Made Easy program, what does that all entail? Is it a community-based, like you have like a community-based web group where people work together, or is it one-on-one, or is it
all of the above?
Okay.
So there's a one-time purchase product, the lifestyle transformation, and it's 10 different lessons that we go through. And again, we go step by step, starting with goals, ending with other resources that people can check out on their own if they want to dive deeper. Some things that I've walked through and that I've loved. And then there's also a community component where people can kind of be in that together and getting ideas from each other, bouncing those off, newsletters, just little extras here and there for me. And then, like I said, I'm willing to do the one-on-one coaching on a case-by-case basis.
And so you sign up, subscribe, join the group. You have a one-time subscription fee.
No, the subscription fee is monthly. And then the 10 lessons is a one-time purchase. And it's an online platform, and people can go in and they can work through it on their own, at their own pace, and make the changes as attainable and comfortable for them.
That sounds like, that's great. I think because a lot of times, you see things, there's a lot of apps that are out there, and there's no support. You just go in and it's self-paced, and it's a great way to start. Better than doing it on your own. It's better than nothing. Having, whether it be a community where you can talk with other people as you're going through it. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be,
Sure.
It's not a linear path. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have struggles, and being able to talk with other people or see other people go through the same struggles, because we all tend to think, well, I'm the only loser that's having this problem. Mm-hmm. And in the reality, everybody's having the problem.
Yep.
And talk about social media. A lot of places, you only see one of the bad parts about social media is you only see most people only share the best parts of their life, right? You don't see them when they're, sick on the couch and whatever. You see these great trips and they're killing it in the gym and whatever else that may be, and you don't see their struggles. So you think, well, I'm the only one that's having these issues. So having a community that you can see that is good. Having you as a resource, as a coach, because again, if you're out there trying to do it on your own, you may not be. If you know you got a PhD and a master's degree versus somebody that doesn't have any training in health and nutrition. If I'm trying to do it on my own, then it's like, well, I think I'm doing it right, but I might not be. So having that coaching component, I think, is a very is something also that sets you apart from a lot of the products out there. With anything else, health and fitness is a very dense. There's a lot of saturation
Yes.
of people in there. Some of them, are very smart and very good, and some of them are snake oil.
Yeah.
And so, if you're going to spend your money, find the program that works for you, but also find somebody that has a background of health and nutrition. And also, I think the other good thing about your programs is it's not just one modality. It's not, you have many things that you come across, like we talked about early on. Western medicine isn't bad. It's just not necessarily the most agile and best way to do it. But somebody may need a component of
Yep.
Western medicine, of tradition. I don't even know I want to call it traditional, because truly what
More holistic.
is what you're doing. But they may need a component that is big medicine. You may need surgery. If you need surgery, you need surgery.
And then, I can come alongside and help. Yeah.
Right.
How do you recover from that? Yeah.
So you're not telling. So that's, I think, the difference. And how you approach things, and some different holistic people that I've seen. My oldest sister has been in the holistic field for a long time, and she's one that all Western medicine's bad. Don't do anything, and um, you know, there's sometimes that you need surgery. You need surgery.
And I did, right? For my brain. Yeah. I did. I wouldn't be here. So yeah.
So you have to be willing to look at things as a like holistically. You have to look at the whole picture and say, well, you may need surgery, but then instead of being on opioids for months, we can do this to.
How can we do it a different way?
How can we? You might need it. And again, as you were saying, you were on brain surgery, and then only having regular Tylenol to deal with. That's crazy.
It was.
You are tough.
It's all God. I couldn't have done it.
Well, that's true.
He sustained me, for sure. But yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, that's it. But so you might need, and there's nothing wrong with, hey, I need some pain meds for a period of time it's part of recovery, but it's not necessary to stay on them for often, as long as they, see that in the military community. You have a lot of people that are addicted to opioids, because there was a point in time in the military world where they knew. I've had soldiers that have worked for me tell me, basically his doctor told him, we know that you're going to get addicted to A, but we can treat the addiction later on. We need, we can't control your pain any other way, so we're just going to let you addicted, and then 2 years down the road, when you're fully healed, then we'll worry about your addiction. Problem is, most of those people then, because their injuries were so severe, they didn't have 2 years under the same doctor. They got medically retired and then went out into the world, and nobody nobody took care of their addiction until sometimes it's too late. So having other modalities, I think, is awesome.
And just going back to the delivery of the program too, I just want to say, I've taught, at the college level for almost 10 years, and everybody learns differently, and people need the input of the information differently. So some people are really good at online, just read something and they get it. Some people need videos. Some people need to go out and do it. Some people need group, activities together. And so I've tried to kind of incorporate all the different ways of delivery into the program for different learning types.
Awesome. That is important, because not every, just as anything, not everybody, not every nutrition plan is going to work for everybody. Not every exercise plan is going to work for everybody the same. We all learn different ways. So having, some people are tactile learners. They need to put their hands on it. And some people can read, just send me just send me an email. I can.
Yep.
And then some people need that kind of all the modalities to really, to really set in. So having videos and the different ways to get to it, as well as some FaceTime and face-to-face, is good. Well, anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Well, again, thank you for coming out today, and I'm excited to hear how this works and as this grows, and see what this turns into. I think you got something here. I think God's put something on a good path for you, and I wish you the best of success, and hopefully, Healthy Made Easy will be as successful or more successful than the
Workhorse side.
Workhorse side.
Yep. Thank you.
Keep you busy.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you all that joined us today, and we will have links in the notes for all of the socials and ways to get a hold of Aimee. And if you have any questions, seek her out, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you.